everybody.
Sean and Kelly here, Price and Price Group of Samson Properties. We are back after Thanksgiving, and what are we talking about today?
I'm so excited.
Okay, go.
Okay, so right now we're going to talk about the listing that just sold, the third one this week that we just sold 2 days ago, and in
Arlington, Virginia.
Yeah, I always say Alexandria.
Yeah. And this is a really, really interesting story. So we're going to go step by step. There's a lot of different caveats and nuances.
I get to talk a lot. Like, I get to be super long-winded.
Okay, so here we go. Let's get to it.
Okay, so I know we always see these posts, like, we've done it and a lot of realtors do it, and it's like, just sold in 3 days. And it's like, we're going to give you a behind the scenes about what it actually looks like. Because if we were going to make a quick post like that about bragging about it, we would say, sold in only however many showings and, you know, full price, boom, and that's it. And you're like, why do you even make that kind of money, right?
Right. So, now, we're going to give you all the details, and this one, this has several different storylines. So the first storyline is about 3 years ago, I was out doing a video tour for some clients. They were on the lower end of the budget for single family houses. And I went out to this property.
I forgot that's how you met. Okay, 3 years ago, yes.
So I went out to this property. I walked into the house and I made it through to the kitchen.
Because it was a for sale by owner, right?
No, it was listed for sale.
Okay.
But this was before this gentleman that we represented had bought it.
Oh,
yes. Okay. So I went to this house. I walked in. You walk in the living room. You go around a corner, and then you're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's as far as I made it. I didn't make it upstairs. I didn't make it anywhere else because this house was scary. It was packed full of stuff. I was hearing noises. I was thinking there were people.
Happens, guys.
Yeah. Sometimes it's very uncomfortable. Like, she doesn't go to vacant our houses alone for this reason. So I left the house, and the condition was horrible. Like, I was afraid it was going to be wonky and all kinds of weird stuff. I walked around to the back. It had a huge lot, and that's one of the unique things about this property. But it was full of Texas Chainsaw Massacre sheds. I swear there were people back there that were being held. This thing was horrible. So,
oh my God.
Fast forward to earlier this year, and I went to meet with a for sale by owner, and I'm pulling up, and I didn't recognize the address, but when I pulled up off the street, I'm like, I think this is the house that I was at. He had
so this is about
2.5 years later.
2.5 years after the creepy walkthrough.
Yeah, so it just had the feel when I pulled up to it. Yeah. And it was very, very well done. He cleaned this place out. It was completely remodeled. He painted the exterior, so he just did a fantastic job on this house. So the story began actually 2.5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the story.
All about that.
So the beginning, the way I just want to start this with the actual situation of this time around is I met the seller. He was for sale by owner. He walked me through the house and showed me everything that he had done. It was currently being rented by a colonel that was working at the Naval Reserve, or the Army Reserve, National Guard Reserve Readiness Center. And so it was being rented.
It's right there.
Yeah, it was right there. So he was showing it to me. It was being rented at the time. So it was in good condition, but it was still filled up with tenants, items and stuff. And but I was really
no more Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
No more
memorabilia in the backyard.
Not at all. And he was actually on the market with the property as a for sale by owner for 90 days. It was in the multiple listing service, but he was on sale before that. He was on Zillow for another couple months. So
so then he did, to get it on MLS, then he did like a flat fee for service, just where you pay an agent just to get the listing on there. They don't do anything else. It was still a for sale by owner.
That's right. So I met him about 5 months before we actually started talking about listing the property. And again, the property was in great condition.
And he's amazing. The sellers are amazing. He and his wife are incredible.
But this just goes to show, the first thing to point out is, yes, as a for sale by owner, quite often you can sell the property yourself, but it doesn't always work out. And he was on the market for 6 months, and he was marketing. He actually owns a direct mail company, so he was doing all the marketing and everything. And
he's good at marketing.
He's really good. He just wasn't getting any traction. So eventually he hired us to come in, and we were able to start working with him.
Yes.
So that was it. So for sale by owner for about 3 months officially, and then I think 3 months prior to that.
And that was a lot of following up, and like you really spent that time building the relationship with
And
them.
I took a couple of our investors out there to look at the property because it's had an apartment in the basement. And
It's a really, really cool place.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we listed it.
Yes.
And what you're gonna hear is a whole lot of, we meet our clients where they're at, whether you're buyers or sellers, we meet you where you're at. We're gonna tell you the best case scenario and how to get, say you're a seller, best case scenario, how to get what you want quickly, exactly what you want, and then we're gonna work with you on what you're willing to do at the time. So we had it listed, we listed it, and then we had some issues.
Yes.
Because we only had it listed for 2 weeks before we took it temporarily off market.
Yes. Yes.
That issue is another issue we ran into with another listing.
Yeah,
which
both
is
at the same
common.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, it always happens like that, right?
Yep.
That
You get
issue
clusters.
is tenants
Yes.
in the property. So go through that a little bit.
So this is the next thing is to demonstrate here is how important the presentation of the property is. So we were on the market for
presentation also includes availability of the property.
Yeah, availability. Yeah, absolutely. So we were active for 6 days when we went on the market.
Yeah.
We had 4 open houses. I've got the statistics here. So I made 200 phone calls prospecting for the property, generated some people coming in from that. We had 4 open houses. We had 19 groups through.
Yeah.
A lot of them were from the prospecting.
Yeah.
We had 3 scheduled showings. 1 showing came. 1 showing canceled, buyer schedule changed, and the 3rd showing, the straw that broke the camel's back, showed up for their showing at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the sellers would not let, or the tenants would not let them in.
What do we mean by a showing? This means another agent
Yes.
was showing their clients the property.
Yeah. So the agent had requested the showing. We had gotten it confirmed with the tenants that they knew they were coming. When the agent and her client showed up at 9 a.m., the tenants were in the house. She said she could see them moving around, but they would not answer the door.
Right. This is not cool.
That's not good. So we went and had this conversation with the seller, and he was very realistic, and he said, you know what, let's take this off the market until we can get it to be vacant.
Yeah. And that was the thing. You know, we had to discuss this with him. At the timing, it's like it's better. We were coming up to late fall, early winter. It's like, okay, we really need to try to show this even with tenants, but as long as everybody's on board and participates and plays nice, it's going to be fine. When that wasn't happening, that was when it was like the decision was made, we've got to take it off the market. And we did that until...
Well, and then just a real quick, a little caveat is when people would actually come through, like for the open house, which I was really kind of grateful that we had so few showings, because I could be there to explain to them that there were tenants there. I could actually clean the house up and straighten it up before people came through. And
explain, there was a whole lot of uniqueness about the layout of the property.
There was a part, now this is so indicative of how important staging is. There was a part of the house where you walked in and you had the dining room, then you had the original kitchen of the house, and then they had a bump out where they had put the new kitchen, and they had maintained the cabinetry and stuff in the original kitchen.
Yeah.
Everybody that came to the open house was like, what do you do with this? And I would explain to them, it's a great butler's pantry. It's great for serving during the holidays.
Yeah, or have a drink. It can be your beverage kitchen or your meal prep kitchen. Like you can say it, but they
couldn't see it because the dining room was not staged. There was no dining room table. The kitchen was, nothing was staged. And the tenants that lived there had very basic furnishings.
Yeah.
So it was not presenting well. We'll just say that.
Let's even not go into in great detail, but also the rules that I've done videos on about staging for the holidays.
Yeah, removing clutter
and things like that. So there were a lot of things that went into having the tenant there.
That was actually one of the reasons we shot that video. Okay, so we go off the market. We're off the market for almost a full month. So we're the entire month.
We're letting the lease end.
October, we're off the market. We come back on the market and the tenants move out. The staging company gets right in the day they move out.
So we hired stagers.
Yes.
To, like, we did that. We told the seller agreed. We're like, let us pay for staging for you.
Yes.
Because we know what it needs.
We knew what it needed.
Let's just do it.
So we did the staging. We went back on the market. We were on the market the second time around for a total of 10 days. But we were actually only doing showings for about 7 or 8 days of that.
That's right.
Because 2 of the days were negotiating contracts and the other 2 days were just generating the interest to be able to start showing the property. We had 4 open houses, just like we had previously. This time we had 33 groups through versus the 19. We had 9
and
showings.
new photography done, right? So that's what gets the more groups in, right? Just because we had it staged, it's like, well, how do they know? We had more photography done, which was incredible. You did more prospecting phone calls.
Yep, we did that.
And then the feedback though, when they walked in, was like starkly.
Yeah, everybody was like, this house is fantastic.
Yeah.
There was no negative feedback. That awkward butler's pantry became the feature of the house. People were like, that is a great idea. I think, because I would sit at the dining room table and explain that to them, and everybody thought this was a fantastic idea.
Yes.
So it was just completely different. The feedback was completely different. We ended up with 9 showings, so we had almost 9 times the showings.
Yeah.
We ended up with 3 offers.
Yeah,
and
within such a short amount of time.
Yeah. So we have gone through how important staging is.
Yes.
We've seen the difference. This is a case study of staging. It shows you exactly the difference of how this plays out. Once we got the contracts, we got a really strong offer, and the seller was, they gave us a strong, we knew we had other offers coming.
Yes.
But this offer came in with a deadline. It was an all cash offer.
No contingencies at all. Now, if you've been doing the business long enough, you know that there are certain things that even an all cash offer with no contingencies that you really have to get in there, which is what we negotiated before they even sent it. We said, we need what?
Proof of funds. We need to see like full-on bank statements,
and
everything.
A big EMD.
And a huge EMD, yeah. So we did.
It's like if they've got the cash to pay for it, they can afford a huge EMD, right?
Yep.
And we need the proof of funds.
That's right. So we got the proof of funds, showed more than enough cash. We got the earnest money deposit, $50,000 earnest money deposit.
Yeah.
We have a ratified contract, no contingencies. We're closing in 2 weeks.
The proof of funds were like so completely, blatantly legit that it was so funny when we got this call.
Yeah, well, okay, so this buyer actually came through the open house, one of the open houses. So I had met him. I don't know who he was. I haven't met him since then, but he came in through the open house. So he called his agent and had his agent write the offer. The agent sent the offer to us that evening with a 2-hour deadline. But the offer was so strong, the sellers just took it. So the next day, we get up and we get the other 2 offers that come in, and one of those was also very strong. So we start negotiating that as a backup offer.
Yes.
We
always have a backup.
Always have a backup offer. And buyers always write a backup offer because, so the next day we get a call from the agent. He's like, hey, you know, everything's going great. I'd like to go by and see the property since I haven't seen it yet. I was out of town. Do you mind if I go by? No, let him go by. Well, when he goes by, he takes the buyer's wife with him.
Yes.
Apparently, the buyer's wife had sat in the car while the buyer came in for the open house. When she went back to the property with the agent, she didn't like the size of one of the bedrooms. She did not want that house. She was done.
They were like...
I get a call from the buyer's agent. They're going to void. Are your sellers going to just accept the $50,000 earnest money deposit, or are they going to sue for damages? If they're going to sue for damages, he'll buy the house and just sell it. And the seller said, he knew we already had a backup offer.
Right, that was good.
It was good. So the seller's like, yeah, I'll let him out of the contract.
I'll take the $50K.
So he got a $50,000 bonus, earnest money deposit. The buyer was happy because he didn't have to hassle with selling the property. So he was like, take it, I'm happy, and he's out.
Life's happy, right?
Life's happy.
I just paid $50,000 for her to not be mad that I
hopefully I never had that experience because I would never live it down.
If you had $50,000, maybe.
Well, that's true. That's true. Maybe if I was I need more money. So the seller gets a $50,000 earnest money deposit. The minute that contract is voided, he's got another contract right in place, and that contract went to settlement 21 days. No issues, and so the seller is happy. Yes.
So all of the lessons, right, are, you want to try to sell your house on your own. You feel like you can't. Maybe you can. If it doesn't work with a realtor, work with someone who can figure out what's missing in what you're doing and fill in those gaps, right?
That's right. So
staging,
obviously importance of
tenants.
staging and making sure the tenants are compliant. And another point is for the buyer's perspective. Okay, there were 2 really good lessons here. Number 1, the first offer that came in was extremely strong with no contingencies and influenced the seller, even though he knew he had other offers coming, to take that offer. So that's one strategy when you're writing offers. The other thing that's important, the backup offer actually had contingencies.
Right.
They had their protections in the contract. They did not get a discount, but they had the protections in the contract. So in the way that the state of the market right now, you can be really aggressive and eat up a property, or you can usually, right now, a lot of contingencies are getting into contracts, inspection contingencies, things like that. You can actually get those in contracts right now. So buyers, if you're on the fence, before we hit that spring market, get in here and do this so you have your protections. You're not going to get a discount on the property.
Yeah.
But you can get your protections.
You can get your protections, and that's a really good point. And the other thing to hit on with sellers is make sure you're working with an agent who doesn't just get excited about something like a cash offer or an offer with no contingencies. Make sure every single offer that comes along has weak points.
Yes. Yeah.
And have an agent who's willing and able to point out those weak points and tell you how they can be negotiated and mitigated, right? Yeah. Because with the backup offer, we knew that the first offer with no contingencies, that if they didn't go to market, it was they were going to get $50K, right? Or settlement.
Yeah.
They were going to get the $50K. Well, if they've got $50K, then they were willing to accept this backup offer that had a home inspection contingency, because what if I need to replace some outlets or something like that?
Exactly.
I've got $50K, no big deal.
That's right.
So there's so many tiny nuances that go into every offer and every situation that you need to make sure you're working with someone who can
help see that,
parse that out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was a great transaction. It was a fun transaction. It was a long transaction over 2.5 years of history.
What amazing people!
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
and the buyers.
I like working with FSBOs.
Yeah, and the FSBOs are for sale by owner, FSBO. The buyers are fantastic. I met them at the open house. I actually did a lot of work with them prior to them bringing their agent in, so they were fantastic. Actually wrote a reverse offer.
So we wrote a reverse offer for this, and it was like,
so
you stressed with them.
Okay.
So they were writing an offer. Sean met with them. They had like falling. I actually met them too, right?
Yeah, you met them at the open house when I was.
We all loved each other, and then they're like, "We don't want." Sean asked, "Do you want to get your agent to do this?" No, we don't want to work with our agent. Somebody sold us our last house, but we don't want to work with them.
Yeah.
Can you write the offer? And he's like, "Okay, we're gonna have to get on a call." And I think all of you're unrepresented. Do you know what unrepresented means? It means I cannot advise you on this. I think you said it so many times, and I'm so glad you did, that they realized what representation means and that they needed it.
Yeah.
So after writing the reverse offer that they asked us to write, and the seller, all this kind of stuff, finally, I'm so happy it got through that they're like, I think we will call our agent. And they did, because it's always a better situation for everyone when we know that all parties have real and strong representation.
That's right.
In the transaction.
So 2 things on that you just brought up that are brilliant.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome. Number 1, what is a reverse offer? So because these buyers had never written a contract, because these buyers, I could not advise them on it. I could walk them through and tell them like what each paragraph meant.
Yeah,
and they
we
would
have
tell
a
me what
video
they
on
want.
representation too that we can.
But what we did was I knew what the seller would accept, because I knew what the seller was getting on the other offer, and they were in a hurry because they wanted to try to beat this other offer in, right? So I knew what the seller would accept. So we actually wrote the offer coming from the seller. The seller actually signed it.
We got with the seller and went through all the details, and he signed it on his side first.
Yep. And then we sent it to the buyer, so that the terms were clear as to what it needed to be.
Yes.
And then
we sent along with the unrepresented paperwork and the disclosures and all of that.
Absolutely. So all of that was covered. And then as they were reviewing the contract and everything, that's when they decided they wanted to get representation. Okay. So we were actually happy that they got the representation. So here's the next thing, and this is why it's so important for sellers to understand that having a buyer's agent on the other side is critical. We got down to 1 day before settlement, and the lender was having an issue with one little aspect of the property. That buyer's agent was negotiating with that lender, pushing that lender, working with that lender, taking pictures, doing everything she could to get that lender to the closing table.
Yes.
And this was no...
Shout out Jennifer Grigorski.
Yes, shout out.
You were great.
She was handling that, and if these buyers did not have an agent that was experienced and knew how to do that, and we were the only agents on the transaction, as a seller's side, I couldn't talk to their lender. So
Yeah.
I would not have been able to guide them through that process, and this transaction may have fallen out and cost those buyers their earnest money deposit.
That's such a great point. I'm really happy you brought that up.
Yeah, there's so many
because
lessons.
we're not allowed. It's like we can want to all day and be like, you know,
We're
but we
just
wouldn't
not
be
allowed.
allowed to do certain things.
Yeah. So this was just full of
It was a charity.
examples of everything.
Yeah.
It's great trigger transactions. So thank you to the sellers for trusting us.
Yes.
Thank you to the buyers for trusting us and bringing in Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer, for a great job.
Yeah.
And
thank you, Jesus in the sky, for
that's
blessing
right.
all of us in this whole transaction.
That's exactly it. And if you guys need anything from us, please feel free to reach out to us. Please subscribe. We're trying to get our subscriber count up. So
Apparently
subscribe.
that's like a big deal.
Yeah, I'm supposed to have that. So subscribe to it.
Subscribe.
You say, all right. Okay, we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.